Hey everyone, this is Logs Day 7. So today we're going to be talking about expanding logs. So there are just a couple of rules that we have to remember when we are expanding logs. And remember, expanding just means you're making it bigger. So when we're expanding logs, we are starting with one log or maybe two, and then we are expanding it to make it more logs. We are expanding it to make it larger. So for our first question here, we are going to take log base 12 of 5x. Okay, so we are expanding these, which just means we're making it bigger. We're not trying to solve. We're not trying to get an actual number here. We are just trying to take this log and split it into two logs or multiple logs. So when we are splitting into multiple logs, okay, what we're trying to do is we're figuring out what's going on right here. Okay, so we're figuring out how is the 5 and the x, how are those put together? So for this question, they're being multiplied. Okay, the 5 is being multiplied by the x. This log base 12 here is just our base. It's when we split it into two logs, both of the logs are going to be log base 12. So this base doesn't really matter. It's just that it has to be the same when you split it into two. So this is called the product rule because product means multiplication. So when we're multiplying and we split that, we expand it, we're changing the multiplication into addition. So instead of it being log base 12 of 5 times x, it's going to be log base 12 of 5. Now this multiplication turns into addition log base 12 of x. Okay, so I just took these two right here and I split them into two separate logs. So an easy way to figure out how many logs you should have is how many terms do I have here? I have two terms, so I should have two separate logs. So I have one log with the 5, one log with the x, and then we just have to figure out, okay, what is this operation turning into? And multiplication turns into addition. Okay, so that is our product rule because product is multiplication. So for question number 2, we have log base 3 of x divided by 11. Okay, so this is called our quotient rule because quotient means division. So again, I'm looking at this right here. I'm going to have two logs because I have two terms here. I have an x and I have an 11. Both of them are going to be log base 3. And again, like I said up here, it doesn't matter what the base is, it's just that the bases have to be the same when you split it up. So the first one is going to be log base 3 of x. That's my first log. I took care of the x here. This operation is division. Division just turns into subtraction. So multiplication turned into addition, division turns into subtraction. And then I just write my second log. So log base 3 of 11. And I have my two terms. I have log of x, I have log of 11, and my operation between them, it was division, so now it's going to be subtraction. So for a lot of the expanding, you just have to remember your rules. So we just have to remember multiplication into addition and division into subtraction. Okay, for question number 3, we have log of 5 to the x. Okay, so here I technically only have one term. Okay, so I'm only going to have one log here, but I have an exponent. And when we have logs, we don't want an exponent. So the exponent just moves to the front. This is called the power rule. So I just take the x and I put it in the front. So my answer is just going to be x times the log of 5. And that's it for that one. So again, count your terms. I only have one term here, but I have an exponent. An exponent just moves to the front. Okay, and that's our power rule. So product rule is that multiplication, here we'll write this to the side. We have multiplication turns into addition. For this one, we have division turns into subtraction. And then we have an exponent just moves to the front. Okay, so those are our three main rules, is our product, quotient, and then power rule. Okay, and we're gonna do one more question. Okay, question number 4. I have the natural log of x times the natural log of 7. Okay, so for this question, remember we're expanding. So there's already 2 logs here. So when you're expanding, you're doing each log individually. So this was 1 log here and I expanded it into 2. This was 1 log, I expanded it into 2. This was 1 log and I moved the exponent to the front. So just look at each log individually. I don't look at this all together. So for the natural log of x, I can't use any 3 of these rules. So this natural log of x, I can't expand it. Now let's look at the natural log of 7. Natural log of 7, I can't do product, quotient, or power rule, so I can't expand that either. Okay, so just because you see multiplication here and I'm trying to expand does not mean that it's changing to addition. The difference between this is 1 log that I'm turning into 2. This is already 2 logs. So when you are expanding, you're only allowed to look at 1 log at a time. Okay, so for this question, there's not an answer for this. We can't expand this. So this is already expanded. Okay, so there's not an answer for that. So the one thing I want you to be very careful of is just because you see multiplication does not mean that you turn that into addition. We're only doing that when you're taking 1 log and turning it into 2 logs. Okay, so make sure you're working on your homework for this section, and I will see you guys for Logs Day 8.